everyone.
Very
Welcome
much.
back to a brand new episode of Talkoffame podcast. I'm Kylie Montigney. Today we're welcoming Nicola Dale. Nicola is a former Sommelier in the Sky, international cabin crew professional of more than 30 years, and a co-host of Over the Back Fence podcast, which I just started listening to and is absolutely amazing. I'll put that in show notes below for you guys to check out, in which we are going to go into a little bit of a deep dive of that podcast. And her with Nicola and her friend Guy Edwards, where they share a love of life, a passion for people, and discovered a simple conversation over the back fence and can change a life and give a sense of belonging. So, welcome to the podcast. I'm so excited to have you on if to finally connect with you.
Thank you so much for having me, Kylie. I'm thrilled to be here.
Thank you. So, for anyone meeting you, hearing you for the first time, like how would you usually describe Over the Back Fence podcast? Because I'm sure that's kind of what people are usually known you for and all of that. And so, how would you describe it in the heart behind those conversations in the podcast?
Over the Back Fence podcast is a podcast I've done to do with my best friend, Di Edwards. And believe it or not, we actually share a back fence. So it's like the conversations that you have over the back fence, which really kind of sadly these days doesn't happen too often. But our podcast is authentic, it's real. We've been friends for over 40 years. And yes, we do share a back fence. But we're all about inspiration. We've had, we've been going, this is our fourth year. We've had over 200 guests, and, everybody has a story. And, whether it's sort of people have gone through some hard times, how they've come out of it. But we've sort of got the thread of connection, community, and communication. So, and also Di and I, so whether it is, we're good buddies, we have a laugh, we have a giggle, it's authentic. And I think everybody of all ages can tune in, because you get sort of some life tips, along the way from some, when people have had F ups and ups, and life is chapters, life is full of ups and downs.
Mhm.
And, at every stage of your life, you can sometimes come out of it. And with a friend by your side, or even one person, whether it's your next door neighbour or whether it's sort of someone who's listening even through like a podcast, really make a difference in your life. So that's what we're really there to uplift and inspire people.
That's actually amazing. And I was just going to ask that actually if you guys were neighbors or something. Because I was like, once I said that, I was like, are they neighbors or something? Or is that a phase or
Yeah,
something people say?
actually, yeah. So the name Over the Back Fence, go figure, we actually share a back fence in true life, like that. So in different times of our friendship, we have lived in different areas, but we've been friends for 40 years. But for the past decade now, so it was a perfect title when we were looking for the podcast name, was Over the Back Fence, because we do share a back fence and we've been besties for 40 years. And we both have that real love of life, love of people. And sometimes that can sound a bit corny, but it's just really true. We just genuinely do, and we get inspired by every guest who's in front of us.
Mhm.
So it's just kind of joy, to probably like yourself, Kylie, interviewing people, and you learn something all the way, and that's what Di and I are. And also we're sort of like probably, your mum's age now, we're sort of, and it's so we're also there to inspire not just women, but also visibility at all ages. So whether you're in midlife, whether in your 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, there's a lot of, as they say, with age comes wisdom. So it doesn't mean you've got to stop. And so we're kind of an advocate for that too. So, like, it's, it can be a new beginning, when your kids leave home, or different chapters in life, so it's sort of there to inspire. And yep, we do share a back fence.
Which is crazy, but also, it's a backbone of a story for sure. But not
Yes.
gonna lie, it kind of reminds me of Full House when Kimmy and the Tanners share back fence and are neighbors. That kind of reminds me of that.
That's too funny. Actually, no one has said that before. So I
Oh,
love that,
really?
Kylie. Thank you.
Like because
No, no.
when
I
I
guess
was
we're
growing up in the States, I know you're from Australia, so I don't know how popular Full
yes,
House was like or is in Australia. But for me, Full House is my childhood and still is. Yeah, I watch it every day. And so
yes,
when someone mentions even the slightest bit of something similar to Full House, I'm like, okay, fangirl moment of Full
yes.
House. Let's bring this up.
That is so good. Well, yeah, we do know of Full House. It probably wasn't as popular in Australia as it was in the US, but we certainly do know it. And I actually think I'm going to check it out again now. So thanks, Kylie.
Yeah, definitely.
Look, it's been a long time, so I kind of need a bit of refresher. But I know exactly what you mean with Full House, and I have seen it, but it's been a while.
Yeah, like there's like a review on Netflix for House. I don't know if you've seen it, but if
No,
anyone watches it or this kind of looking for recommendations, let me prepare you. Full House is better than Fuller House. So let me just say that for the first part. Like for me,
right,
I love Fuller House, but
okay,
I miss the OG, like the actual OGs and
yeah,
Michelle. Because
yes,
Michelle's not on Fuller House. So I'm
yes.
like, oh, if Michelle was on Fuller House, it would have made it 100 times better.
Yeah. Too funny. Too funny. Well, I'll check it out.
So to go back to the podcast, so what came up with the idea of starting the podcast? Like you said before, you guys been friends for over 40 years, and I'm sure back fence. But how did the idea come up with starting a podcast?
Well, it's funny, interesting talking to you, Kylie, how you sort of started yours in COVID. Ours was 4 years ago. So in Australia, we probably had different lockdowns to you, but we did have different periods there. And I used to fly, I flew for like 30 plus years with the airlines.
Hmm.
Anyhow, but during a break, so that all stopped. So my career as a flight attendant had come to a halt because all flights and international flights, had stopped, as we kind of know. And I was then in kind of enjoying, I guess, sort of like an enforced break, really. But we could at certain times travel and we could at certain times do trips. So I was actually hiking in nature with my adult daughter. And it's funny, she's actually a journalist herself. And you know what it is? It's a tip for your listeners too. We can get inspired, I think, when you're going for walks in nature. Because
Hmm.
walking in nature, listening to some podcasts, and all of a sudden I just thought, I think I should do a podcast and I should do it with my best friend Di because we always got the great banter. We've got such a love of life and inspiring people. And it's funny, after that walk, it was kind of a walk where, I was listening to my podcast, my daughter was walking. At the end of the day, I said to her, I just got inspired in nature. And I said, Gabriella, I think, your mama will be doing it, should do a podcast. And I think I should do it with Di. And she has known Di all her life.
Hmm.
And she said, I can't think of two better people to get on the mic. And I said, I think we should just talk about life and inspiration and us to. So I sent a message to my girlfriend Di, and instantly she came back and said, absolutely, and had the list of topics this long. And she had back in the day, she'd stopped, but she'd also hosted a TV show in Australia quite a few years ago, so had like a bit of media background. And the two of us together, I thought, would be great. And so we actually then made it happen. And we also kind of knew, we sort of felt that there was a gap in the market, especially people needing inspiration. And Di and I naturally, I've always had a love of, I guess, self-development. I've always been inspired. I guess I get inspired by different people. And
Hmm.
now we're at this stage too, younger people have started to look up and they've sort of said that to us. So it's sort of, we work really naturally together. And that's sort of how it just sort of came up from walking in nature, a thought, and I ran it by my daughter, who's very honest. She could have gone, "Oh, no way, mum,"
Hmm.
and she was like straight away going, "Oh, just fantastic." So she's actually in one of the earlier episodes. I actually
Hmm.
had her as myself, Gabriella Power. But that's how it came about, Kylie, and we've never looked back. And it's grown. We've had over 200 guests. We've had guests from, like from all around the world. from younger ones to our eldest one. I don't know whether you know of the late, great Dr. Gladys McGarvey. Have you heard of
I feel like
her?
I know the name, actually. I feel like
Yeah,
I know the name.
just recently passed, like about a year ago now, but she was 103
Mm.
and she kickstarted her life again really in her 70s. And so she was 103 and still on the talk circuit. She'd written a book called The Well Lived Life. And when we did the Zoom for her, she was running a little bit late for it. And she apologized. She said, "Oh, sorry, girls, I'm a little bit late." She said, "I got caught up." And she said, "I was on my tricycle." She was 103.
103 years old. Oh my
So,
gosh.
it's amazing when you can get people like that. And, gee, she's gone, and through some hard times. And a lot of people, and you've probably found that, Kylie, too, that they've gone through. Sometimes people go through some tough times,
Mhm.
and when sometimes the biggest growth comes out of it, and sometimes the gifts come out of those hard times. And I think the longer you live and the older you get, you hopefully you can get more resilience and you can kind of learn a lot more, and then you can give back. And that's sort of what we're doing. And also sharing our friendship with everyone out there, because it's we just have a natural joy. Di and I, when we speak with one another, it's good
Mhm.
fun, and you can't fake that. And it's natural. You could get two journalists together and throw them in, but we are actually friends, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, it could be worse. You can just find a partner on online and just say, "Hey, I'm looking for a
Yeah,
co-host. You want to do a podcast?" But it's even
that's
better
true.
if you do with someone you're friends with, just because you know each other very well and the connection's actually real, and you're like, "Okay, this is how we make conversation." Like you can actually be real and that's not put on like a fake act.
Exactly, exactly. You know what? And we're like big kids. We get so excited if, we've got a really great guest on or someone else there or something fantastic's happened. We'll jump up and down, and we're both the same, and we both are lovers of life. And, and we've gone through, we know each other so well. Like, we've been pregnant together. We've, gone to each other's, weddings. We've lost our parents, sadly, and gone to the funerals. That we've gone through the life's ups and downs already, the many, some incredibly fantastic times,
Mhm.
and then some sad times. And we've both, going through, I've gone through a divorce that was nearly 10 years ago, and Di's the
Mhm.
same about 3 years ago. And, and things happen in life. And so through the good and bad times, we've been there. And it's just only made the friendship and it's just so deep and real and wonderful and rich. And we feel really, we don't take it for granted. We know we're kind of lucky, but I think with a lot of things in life, I think it's what you put in sometimes is what you get out.
Mhm.
And certainly, friendship and connection to me is one of the most important things really in life. From anything, you speak to people who've got more money than, they can ever spend, they can be lonely or they can be really happy. It's
Mhm.
ultimately, you do need, I think, you do, even if it's a couple of friends, you don't need to have a big group,
Mhm.
but a couple of really people that you can lean on, and you're there for them. And it's really important. And I think all the stats show as well, too, that, they sort of say loneliness kills,
No,
and it
it
really,
does, yeah.
and we kind of know, you touched on the epidemic, through the COVID was really tough. But by having those connections and having a podcast and reaching out, and you can't see them in the flesh, but having that communication is so wonderful, and people can lift your spirits, or,
Mhm.
put a different perspective on things when you sort of think you can't go on. It's really wonderful. So that's sort of a really important thing, sort of, that we share too, is that real importance of friendship, connection, and and loving life.
Yeah, I was kind of like that too, and I feel like when COVID was going on, I'm sure like things are different like for you then since you lived in Australia and different countries and all the lockdowns are completely different than the United States. But for me, I felt like the biggest thing during the pandemic was, the communication. The sense
Yeah.
we really couldn't see our family or friends or go out and do the normal things we usually do. So that really, made a difference in my life since I was so used to kind of like seeing friends and family every day or going out, going to the gym and doing the regular things teenagers do every single day and going to sporting events. And once that kind of shifted and the lockdown started, it all happened so quickly. Like this one day in March, we're just like, okay, we're on lockdown now. Like, everything just changed so quick to the point where I didn't really have time to process that.
No.
And the biggest
I,
thing for me during that time was like the communication, is all I could do to see my friends and family through Zoom or FaceTime or talking on the phone since I couldn't see them just because most of my family is older. So,
mm,
like, it was kind of very hard because with my family being most of the time older, everyone's more cautious about like being around people is they don't want to get sick. Everyone has some sort of health issue. Everyone has kind of like their own boundaries. And, it was kind of very hard. So the only way we can make that connection is through social media. And I know with people with like my parents and yourself, like you guys didn't grow up with social media. Like you guys didn't
no,
have phones. Like the only way you can talk to people is if you at school or those phones you hang up on a wall, like a payphone or whatever it's called. And that
yeah,
really absolutely sucked. And
yeah,
I know for myself, I'm sure it's for you as well that, you know, without seeing people like all the time, like you're used to compared to maybe now, it was definitely rough not having that connection with people, especially with, being a teenager. I was like 12 or 13 years old when it happened. So I was like, with being a teenager, you miss those connections. Like
Oh,
that's a
I
part
think
of
I
being a
feel
teenager.
really sorry for you and for all the teenagers. I think so many people were hard hit, and the very elderly who lived in homes and stuff too were very hard hit when people couldn't visit them. But I think for you being teens, it's such an important time. And, those dances and all the social things, it's all part of those teen years. And you're kind of robbed of that, uh,
Hmm.
you know so that's difficult, but thank goodness for Zoom, and thank goodness that there's good and bad with phones, as we know, but
Hmm.
at least positive that you could sort of like at least see people. Whereas,
I
as you
know.
said, we certainly couldn't. We didn't have a phone at all. We'd just run
Yeah.
around in the street, or if you went away on a trip or went away on holidays, it'd be like bye, and there'd be nothing for weeks or a month, and then you'd come home.
Yeah.
How things changed.
Yeah, it's like even when with social media, it can be like, okay, I'm going away. I'll see you Monday. Like, like with
Yeah,
things then, you like even if we didn't have social media during the pandemic, I feel like I would have gone nuts. I feel like I would have gone
yeah.
crazy.
Yes, yeah, I know. Well, it's funny. I guess we wrote more and had diaries and read and did other things, but it was certainly that difference there. It would be, like communication would be letters. So if you went overseas, it would be then you could be the odd pay phone that you could ring. It'd be the phone at home, uh, and that used to cost a fortune if you,
Mhm.
especially if it was Australia, if you were traveling and to call, it was very expensive. Whereas now with Zoom and WhatsApp, it's wonderful.
Mhm.
Um, and otherwise, you used to like wait for the post, or you'd write letters, or you'd go to, if you're traveling and you didn't know exactly where you were, you could go to the main post office and they'd hold letters for you there. So it's so funny how
Mhm.
that's changed. Okay, that's a long time ago now, but that was certainly with my teenage years. I
I
do remember
know.
that.
It honestly feels like yesterday for some apparent
Yeah,
reason. Even though it's 2026, you're just like, mentally, I'm still in 2020.
yeah. We got to make up for lost time there, Kylie.
I know, we do, we do. So to go back to your podcast, like, is it true that you guys met Oprah?
Yes, yes, I've met Oprah 8 times now, and breaking news, she's coming on our podcast too. So you've got to
Wait,
tune in.
what?
Yeah, which is great. Look, I have been. before you were born, in 1986, when Oprah first came on television in the US, I was flying. I was 22, and I got in as a flight attendant with Qantas, and I flew to the States. So I saw Oprah, when she had her very first show in 1986 on American TV when I used to fly. And instantly, I really liked Oprah because I didn't even, no one had spoken about the topics that she spoke about. And it was, and it was wonderful. She was, and, had the personality. So I'd had a personal interest in Oprah. She did a trip out to Australia in about 2010, the very first time. And I actually met, you couldn't buy tickets. It was sort of like through a lottery system, through an email. And I ended up then manifesting, because I'm a big manifester and believing. And I said, I'm going to go and see Oprah. And I ended up, through the email lottery system, I didn't get it. My kids were trying for me, and I'd circled the date, and I said, I'm going to go. And anyhow, I ended up then, it was just when Facebook was new, was coming out, and they had a Facebook Oprah page. And I wrote a message sort of saying if someone happened to have tickets, it'd be great to go to sort of someone who was a true sort of like, follower or whatever of Oprah. Anyhow, I ended up getting a message from a really great, now become a good friend, Kelly in San Jose, had won tickets through the lottery system to Sydney, Australia to see Oprah. But at that stage then, with the airfares and that to go and see her and to stay around Christmas, it was sort of kind of prohibitive. And she then, out of the blue, found this Facebook page, saw all these comments and saw my face, and then just sort of said, look, hey, I've never done this before. You seem like a really lovely person. And she said, I've got tickets to Sydney show. And I was just going, oh my goodness. And we found a little bit more about each other. And I said, come and stay with us. So we've become lifetime friends. And since then, I've seen Oprah many times. And so I've seen her in UCLA. I've seen her in San Jose. I did a Alaska O cruise, and there was lots of guest speakers like Glennon Doyle on board, and there was Gail and Oprah, and we met them on the cruise that we did. And after the cruise had finished, I then was in the Greek islands, and who do I bump into 2 weeks later from doing this Alaska cruise to Greece is Oprah's best friend Gail, just by chance, and staying at the same hotel. And then she's going, you're Nicola from the cruise. And I said, yes. And I said, Gail, I want to let you know, of all the talks that I saw, my favourite talk was the friendship talk. And I said, it was the talk between you and Oprah. And Gail goes, oh, my God. She said, let's ring up Oprah now and tell her. And she said she'd love to hear that. So right there and then, I'm in my swimsuit, my hair's all wet. Gail King FaceTimes Oprah and it's going, Oprah, here's Nicola. Nicola, tell Oprah what you said about the cruise. So I said, Oprah, I loved it. And I said, I was telling Gail my favourite thing, like my whole theme is friendship. Bit like Di and I, you can't fake a friendship. And they were hilarious together and teasing one another, and just like Di and I do. Anyhow, Oprah came out to Sydney late last year. And I saw her in Sydney, and then we went and met her. We saw her in Brisbane. And I had the opportunity of, after the show with the meet and greet, to meet Oprah again. It'd been my 8th time. And I said to Oprah how I'd met her before. And I said, look, I was on the FaceTime with Gail. And I didn't think Oprah would remember, because that was about 8-9 years ago. Oprah did the "you've got a car" moment, jumped up and down like that, saying, I remember that. And I said, well, Di and I have got a podcast, Over the Back Friends. A lot of, especially Americans, have called us like the Aussie Oprah and Gail. And I said, I'd like you to come on our podcast. It's about friendship and connection. And you know what Oprah said? And Oprah only says things with full intention. And she said, we're going to make it happen. We're going to make it happen. And we're just jumping up and down. And it was just such a joyous moment. So she called one of her producers over. Chelsea got our details. And so, Chelsea said that, this was the end of last year. They will contact us this year. And now it's one of those things, a bit like with Oprah with the colour purple. I don't know exactly what date or when, but I do know it will happen, and Oprah will come on. So when she does, you will know about it, and I'll let everyone know in your network.
Oh yeah, that is crazy because I grew up with Oprah. So
Yeah.
like with her doing TV interviews, I watch her interviews like all the time. Like I don't watch as much now just because I'm like kind of like going through like a many different podcasts, interviewers, but
Course.
she's still someone that I actually just adore. Like she's amazing. I love how she's just so honest and truth with everybody and doesn't hold back. That's one thing I absolutely love about her.
Yeah, I agree. And when you sort of think whether people like anyone, there's going to be some people who like others and whatever, but you can't, whatever your views are. Oprah is an extraordinary woman that has been a
Mhm.
real trailblazer, and I admire her where she has come from. And a lot of it too is, she's had some really hard times. And when you sort of think, like back then, what was it called, black or coloured people, and the discrimination, and coming with her parent. I think her mum was, a housekeeper, and I think it was either her mother or said to her, make sure you know how to do this. When you're old, you can get a good job and work sort of to do this for some good white folks. And Oprah knew, even then, going that she knew that she was destined for greater things than that. It was her inner self belief. And I think that sort of, really sort of skyrocketed her along the way through different challenges. But she has just overcome so much. And now she's just really iconic. And
She
she's
is.
70.
And like she paved the way for so many people and the way she approaches so many things is like it's very rare for someone like her to do stuff like that.
I know, I know. And so when Oprah, I didn't, think that she'd become, who knew, but I've always sort of thought I had my list of names of people who I wanted. And it's like when you manifest for something there, and Oprah was one. And then when Oprah said, yes, I'm going to make it happen, and followed up, and the producers have got all the things, and she said, we'll make it happen. And I know she will.
That absolutely. People say it to the word, if like
Yeah,
someone
she was
like her,
a
I
woman
just
of
know like she's like, okay, let's make this happen. Like to get someone like Oprah on your
yeah.
podcast, I'll be like, okay, my life is made. No more podcasting for me. This my life is made.
I know. So I can't wait for that to happen. But
I
in the
know.
interim, incredible guests, and we're starting our new series is starting in 2 weeks time, and it's great. We've got a guy, I don't know if you've heard of him, David the Medium. He's
Mhm.
extraordinary. People in your network, you've got to tune into him. He might be touring in America. I don't think he's gone there yet. I know he's touring in Europe next year. He does live shows, but he
Mhm.
can connect spirit, and he is just incredible.
Mhm.
Very good. He's coming on our podcast, and we've got a whole lot of different inspiring people. And life coaches, love coaches. Another American, Jillian Churecki. I don't know whether you know of her.
Mhm.
Um, so we have a lot of people, whether they're therapists or meditation, or always trying to learn and get new skills from other people, and friendship, and a whole list.
I'm sure. And like to go back before, like who is on that list of dream guests for you besides Oprah? I'm curious right now because I know personally I have the whole list. So I
Yes,
was curious to
yeah.
see who are a few names that is on your list besides Oprah.
Yeah, well, what's his name? The McConaughey. What's the actor's name? Of Green Lights. Has
Mm.
written that.
Oh, Matthew
Um,
McConaughey?
you do. I do
I
want to
love
get
Matthew
Matthew
McConaughey.
on. I love that. I just particularly love that book. I think that's a really great one as
hmm
well.
It is a
Um,
really good book. I read it like last year. It's absolutely fantastic.
yes, yeah. So I mean, our list sort of really goes on. Tell me, but what about you, Kylie?
For me,
Who's your?
it's like I have like two in particular. One, I don't know if you know her, they're both actor and actress. So one is Gina Davis. I met
Okay, yeah,
her twice at two conventions.
yes,
One in Connecticut and one in Pittsburgh.
yeah,
And for me, it's always like been her. Just because
yeah.
she's one of the reasons why I started the podcast, and the other one's Hugh Jackman.
Oh wow! Well, you've got to get him on because he's an Aussie. So
No, he's an Aussie, yeah. And I
yeah,
met him, like people oftentimes know me from meeting him. How does Kylie from a small town get to know someone like Hugh Jackman?
yeah.
But that definitely is just like on a top notch. And he's also an Aussie, like you said. So I was
Yeah.
like, okay, he's an
Because Aussies
Aussie.
I was saying about Kylie Minogue, the famous Aussie singer too. Actually, I might get Kylie on as well. Get her on, which would be fun now after you've inspired me, Kylie. I think I've got to reach out to Kylie Minogue. But yeah, Hugh Jackman, I better put him on my list too, and I'll let you know.
No,
Um,
yeah, I feel like you probably will have more of a
and,
chance to get them on more than me since you're getting Oprah. So I'm
yeah,
like,
like,
okay, that
but
is
no,
top notch. But like, really, that's amazing though, getting Oprah.
yeah. But you know what? I think, Kylie, it's great with guests, but it's not always the celebrity, as you know, probably know, not always the big name. And we've had different celebrities, we've had different people over the years. And I mean, brilliant, but we're all, at the end of the day, we're all human beings. So the most incredible story might come from an unsung hero or someone who's not famous. And because everyone's got some sort of story. And like I was even saying with Dr. Gladys McGarvey, 103, she was a medical doctor. She has now just passed away, but extraordinary people's lives. So, but look, it's good to have goals and it's good to have key people to reach. And then, eventually they'll come. Eventually they'll come. Sometimes you don't know exactly when or how, but I think it's one of those things and a fun thing in life, in anything area, plant a seed and,
Mhm.
water and make it grow. And then you got to do, like they sort of say, surrender. You can't keep on pushing it when you do as much as you can.
Mhm.
Like with preparation and opportunity when they collide, it's a bit like that. So, I think with sort of your list of things there, eventually they'll come through.
Yeah, you got to manifest. I know you're a big
Yeah.
manifestor, and I actually started getting into that recently. So I kind of now you gave me
Wow.
the inspiration to start doing it more. So,
Yeah. Well,
anything
Mel
can happen.
Robbins soon, so I wouldn't mind getting Mel Robbins on the podcast as well. She's coming
Oh,
up.
that's a good choice too. I agree with that.
Let them, the let them
I
theory.
literally read that book last year. My uncle recommended it because he read it. And
Yeah.
once I read it, I was like, okay, she's awesome. Like, she's awesome.
Yeah. So, we'll try and get Mel on because she is coming. We'll be going to her show. She's coming out as well. So, and lots of, there's sports people, inspirational people of all different sorts. Probably, we've have, Australians of the Year and scientists and people who've done medical breakthroughs and, you know, a whole list of inspiring people.
Yeah, I mean, anything can happen, you never know. You might meet Valerie that's going to be on a
Yeah.
podcast like
But you
Oprah.
know
You
what
never know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, what also we do with Over the Back Fence too, we've got a monthly series too called Over the Money Fence, and that's with a financial expert in Australia called Roger Montgomery, and it's really talking about making finance fun because sometimes it's probably better for you, Kylie, and some people younger and going through college and stuff too, but a lot of especially women of our generation too, sometimes they didn't have as much with the super. You didn't get as much sort of with job opportunities. The pay scale was different, or
Hmm.
get to this stage of life, and marriages might have fallen over, or you're on your own, and you're in a financial situation you didn't really know about. And it used to be a little bit taboo to talk about from our generation, sometimes money. We don't talk about those things. Whereas now it's really making people feeling it's really important to know just about just so you can a bit of like self-care so you can kind of like then look after yourself as well, so don't feel sort of silly because sometimes it used to be like this high-tech money talk. People could sort of feel threatened by that because they didn't understand it. So we now make money talk fun. We do a monthly series on that, and so that's kind of a thing. So that's called Over the Money Fence. We've actually got a thing called Over the Wine Fence as well. So we've got inspired by, but it's an Aussie label, Lisa, and she's got like this Lisa McGuigan, and we're in partnership with her. So we've got a wine label. I don't think I've put the bottle here, otherwise I'll show you. But I'll give you the link to that one as well. So that's
Yeah.
kind of fun. So lots of different sort of side branches we're doing from it's endless really. Over the book fence,
Hmm.
Kathy, the goodest Aussie author. We have different authors as well. So it's kind of nice. There's so many things you can talk about.
Yeah, I'll definitely look into that now. Now you get a new
See,
idea.
branch off different ideas.
Oh, yeah, of course. So to go back to mental health, I know that's a very important topic for you in your podcast as well. Like, why do you think so many people still struggle to reach out when they need support. I know for me, like that's something I have a hard time dealing with is reaching out when I need help. And as someone who deals with depression and anxiety, that's something that, I know for a lot of people, it's kind of like, okay, like I don't want to be a burden. I don't want to be annoying, or, you don't people see it differently. Like, why do you think mental health is like so important and why people don't tend to reach out more?
Sometimes, it can be a fear for it. I think it can be a fear, like you're sort of saying, you sort of said, I can be, you might feel that you can be annoying to someone. But, if someone's really going to be that way, then they may not necessarily be a friend, or the timing mightn't be right. But I think sometimes you need to get out of your comfort zone, and reach out to people. And then, you get the gauge then whether it's reciprocal or not. And you certainly don't want to be in a situation and trying to befriend someone it's not going to be a mutual thing. It's like a mutual exchange. But, I was recently a guest on another podcast, and it was more for mums with young children. And the young mums who are in another very busy stage of their life, like they're seeing all the other mums there, and they're so busy with at home, and then with their working and school drop-offs, whatever. They've got friends, but they've got kind of no time and no real connection. And, sometimes you've got to make that time, even though it's really busy. And sometimes, even if it's only for a really, say half an hour in the week. But if you can then meet up with someone and have a real thing of like, how are you, and really how it is, and listen and lean in to them and share some vulnerability, and vice versa. People who can have your back and each other, it's a really good thing. So I think sometimes it can be fear, but then it's so worth it. Or people go, oh, look, no, I won't. But it's so worst thing can happen is, you know what, Kylie, or people there, they go, no, that's okay. That's fine. If they can't do something, you try with sort of someone else, and eventually then meet your tribe, meet your people, people, whether it's in a walk, we've all got kind of busy lives, and you sometimes find sort of a shared thing with someone. You both might be, like, only got a time, but walking in nature can be good. And you can sometimes then open up, think of different things when you're away from the screens. And it's definitely always worth it. And there's times to be alone. You need to sort of have your own sort of, like, as I said, I used to fly with the airlines, put your oxygen mask on first. But it's also really important to reach out and not always expect everyone to reach back to you. You have to make the effort. And even if you do feel uncomfortable, my tip is the benefits are there, to do it. Don't be scared. Or if you are scared, like when they go, feel the fear anyway, what's the worst that can happen? No, they're not available. No, they don't want to do it. That's okay. Someone else will. And the right person will, who's meant to. So I just think it's so important. And you might have some days when you don't want to do that, and so don't do that. Don't always. But I think you get to a stage there. It's friendship and connection is imperative, and a really a deep one that you've got. When times are tough, you've got someone there, not just and it's great to share the good times with people, but it's also when times are tough, you've got sort of someone there who can help you out, and you're there to help them out. And there's nothing more rewarding than that.
No.
And whether to reach out through doing volunteer work, that can be rewarding. If you're feeling lonely and you don't want to socialize or go to a party or whatever, that's not your jam, fine. Volunteer even at an animal shelter. There might be a couple of nice people there. Do some stuff to help others. It stops you worrying so much about yourself. It can put things into perspective, and you might just meet a new friend along the way.
And when you're going out volunteering, like animal shelter or food pantry, and you come home feeling happy, like that makes you feel rewarded just because you are giving back to people who really need it. And kind of like I understand completely all like kind of how people deal with things differently and how they want to cope. And It definitely with giving back, that is something that I know definitely helps me in a way, even though I might not do it often. That's because, I'm a freshman in college and all that. So many things are going on. But it definitely is such a rewarding thing, definitely, to give back, no matter the circumstances. And that's how you meet new people, is giving back. Even though you might know some people, like, that's a great way for you to connect, is volunteering. It is one good example.
Yeah, it truly is volunteering, and if you can, doing something I find with exercise, it's a double benefit because you can then, if you can even go for a walk with a friend, or whether you share bike riding or sort of something like that, because it's always makes you feel good when even if say you don't feel like exercising, but at the end of it how good you feel. So
Hmm.
it's double the benefits. If you can have a good chat with a friend or something and you're going for a walk, you
Hmm.
get double the benefits. So I think sort of things like reaching out, um, you know helping others, can lift your spirits a lot, and then you can possibly make a new friend along the way, and someone who got a new shared interest is great. And then I think something, if you can exercise, or do something else there, it's yeah, and then at certain times, then when you are, people, you suffer some depression, some anxiety. That's also, there's times in your life when you need professional help and professional support, and it's really, there's no stigma to that. It's actually hand up. I've had counselling. I've reached out to therapists over the years, and I'm proud to say that,
Hmm.
because no one's perfect. Everyone has ups and downs in life, and sometimes you need somebody who's not even a friend or a family member, and somebody else from a different perspective coming in. And so there are certain times like that that can help you as well. So a combination of that, and then a good friend can pick you up too, like you can do for them.
I know, like it's very important to have at least a good support system. Even though if you really don't have any friends, like family is a big tool. And I know with me and family, it definitely has helped me. Gone through a lot of stuff with mental health. I know for many people as well. And it's important to
Kylie,
have
you're not
good support
alone.
system. Like that's the most important thing. It's not weak to ask for help. Like
No,
personally, I
bravo.
see a therapist and all that. So it's like there's nothing wrong with that. And I personally thought, like years ago, like I personally said to myself, like seeing a therapist or something like that makes me weak. It doesn't. Like I personally thought that. I'm not gonna lie, me straight up, I personally thought that. And now that I gotten older, I realized like there's nothing wrong with that. It's important to ask for help, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's very important to ask for help, and there's like you're strong for asking it because you can't go through things alone by yourself.
Well done, you, Kylie. You know what? You're certainly helping people with what you're doing with your podcast, and just sharing it, and also being courageous enough to sort of say when you've suffered through that. And that helps other people, because the other thing too is you're not alone. People, you feel like at the time you may be alone, because, when you're feeling down or feeling depressed, you sort of feel like, you could be but there's so many people that can feel that way, and that can help, because
Mhm.
you're not alone, and things can shift as well. So it's sort of like, then sometimes you have to sit through that and come out the other side. And the gifts of coming out is then you can help others by sharing it, saying, I felt that way, and I felt at that time I probably couldn't see a light at the end of the tunnel, but guess what? There is, or I'm there now. And also in life, you never, which I like too, is I feel you're never quite there, until probably the very your last breath. Because,
Mhm.
students of life, and I love it that, Kylie, you speak to people who are older, and I speak to people who are younger, and I think I learn so much from younger people, and you can
Mhm.
learn from older people as well too. It's all energy, and I think that's a really great thing. Also, you can have a friend who's a lot older, and you can have a friend who's a lot younger.
Mhm.
It's a connection, and it's energy. So, that's really, you're doing well.
Same to you. And it's important, no matter if someone's older, your age, or younger, it's you learn something different from whoever you talk to, no matter how old they are, how many years older or younger
Exactly.
they are from you. It's like it's age is just a number. Like you learn something different from everyone you meet.
Yeah, yeah, that's it. That's it. We're actually talking about all the different things there. We're actually going to be doing some live events, and I think we're going to be doing a dance thing too. And I think you just nailed it. I think it's going to be called Ages but a Number as well. So we're going to get people to get out on the dance floor and just go crazy and just have a great night. Bring all your girlfriends, and dance. And that's like I was saying with movement, that can help you boost your mood too. Put some music dance. Doesn't matter what age you are, whether you're a sophomore at uni or in your 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, who cares?
Mm.
You can rock at any age.
Of course, anytime. I'm a Pilates girl, so if I lived in Australia, I'd be
Oh,
hopping that way very
dude,
quickly.
that's,
But
I'm impressed. Oh, that's great.
But I think that is the perfect way to wrap up this episode. I so appreciate your time and taking time to come on and talk with us today. It means absolutely so much. And I
I,
really loved having you on. And I know our listeners is going to love this episode from you. And I really appreciate all you do and all everything you just do in general with your podcast and all of that. It really is making a difference. And I want to thank you so much for all you do. It's really amazing.
having me, and it's daytime. I think we're one day ahead here because I'm in Sydney, Australia.
Mhm.
So ciao, ciao, and a great connecting with all your audience there. And I welcome all the new. We call you back fences. So come over, subscribe to Over the Back Fence. Kylie's going to put all the links up there, and laugh, have a listen, and learn some things along the way. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll put all of the links below for you guys to check out if you're interested. I definitely recommend and stay tuned for the Oprah episode because I know I'll be tuning in for that one.
She'll be one of the first to know, Kylie. So and then I'll tell you all about it. We'll link it all up.
Yeah, I'll put all that below. So if anything comes up, I'll make sure to let you guys know if I'm interested. But to end it off, make sure to like, subscribe, and review whoever you're listening on. And I hope you guys have an awesome day and thank